talk about headlines that make you stop and sit up. And if you're Kumekucha Chris, you say, ay, yeah. Sample the following headline. DP Ruto meets Kikuyu leaders. Or even better, DP Ruto meets Mount Kenya leaders. Wah! Very shocking headline. But let's make it factual. DP Ruto meets Kikuyu leaders from the Rift Valley. Now, when you correct that headline, you say, oh. And then you understand. Yeah, you understand many things, which we'll cover in this particular show today. You see, the Deputy President's core strategy for 2022 is beginning to emerge very clearly. Yeah, and all indications are that there'll be a response from Team Keleweke. There has to be. Yeah, and we're going to discuss all that in this very juicy show tonight. But first, I need to give you a heads up. Please allow me some very little time. And I'll start by asking je, wewe umejipanga 2020 manenos? Next year, uko sawa kweli? Now, if you have relatives in Kenya, or you live in Kenya, you will know exactly what is going down. And this could not have come at a worse time. Yeah, because if you're an economics major, you will know the alarming things that are happening with the world economy. Everywhere, there is a lot of economic uncertainty. Yeah, some people have predicted a major world depression. And if you not only read your Bible, but study it, yeah, you will know that all this was predicted. It was prophesied a long time ago. And my very sincere prayer is that every single member of this channel will be better prepared than most for the year 2020. And that is one of the reasons why I've produced an amazing documentary. Very thoroughly researched for very many months. Yeah, and I started by looking at other great depressions of the past and what happened. And more importantly, what those who prospered during those depressions did. This documentary is titled How to Prosper in a Gloomy Economy and focuses on how you can make more money than you need to sustain your precious family and yourself. And it is very relevant even for those Kenyans in the diaspora. Now, this one does not happen in Kenya, but I have lived for many years in a country which I will not name, where people are fond of asking you, wewe, uko na work permit? And while in that country, down and out, and without a single penny, I managed to start a very successful business that sustained me and my family for many years. And I did not break a single law of that country. I remained a very faithful foreigner, obeying the law of the land, of my hosts. So when I tell you it can be done anywhere in the world, I'm not talking theories. I know I did it. Now, my documentary focuses on making money. So it is applicable even if you have a job and you have no intentions of ever starting a business. It is also applicable if you're an entrepreneur. You're going. You want to start a business. It is also applicable if you already have a business. It is especially applicable to those who already have a business. And of course, for many, things right now are very difficult. But they don't need to be, if you know exactly what to do. And my very entertaining documentary, in simple language, using simple terms, will change everything. You can see the cost on your screens right now and what you need to do. And I've also put a link on the top right-hand corner of your screens for you to view a video on this channel that will tell you more about it, for those interested in it. Back to the DP Ruto and his meeting with the House of Mumbi. The venue of this particular meeting was most interesting. It was at Sugoi, the home of Deputy President William Samoei Ruto in Uasin Gishu, not far from Eldoret town. And the Kikuyu delegation was led by controversial Bahati legislator Kimani Ngunjiri. And clearly, the idea right from the word go was to attract a lot of public attention, because these thousands of members of the House of Mumbi trooped right across town. And before they headed to Sugoi, they met outside the hotel, with the leaders from the Kalenjin community, led by another controversial legislator, Kapsaret MP, Oscar Sudi. And leaders from the two communities exchanged mursik. Mursik is traditional Kalenjin sour milk. It is drunk in public by heroes and heroines of the community. And it is also a significant part of the culture of the Kalenjin community, where DP William Samoei Ruto hails from. And what usually happens, the mursik is in one container, which is shared around. And in this instance, it was done to portray the unity of the two communities in the Rift Valley. And locals cheered and thanked the House of Mumbi in the Rift Valley for supporting Deputy President William Ruto's bid for the presidency in 2022. Now, before we go to the private meeting in Sugoi, which was closed to the press, of course, a little background is necessary for us to understand precisely what is happening here. Historically, Central Province was the Kenyan of Muzungu settlers in the country. Beautiful British-style houses, beautiful and prosperous farms, prime property belonging to the colonials. And of course, the Mzungus had valid title deeds for this prime land, snatched away from locals. And so at independence, one of the deals that was struck was for the locals to buy back this land legally. However, the new colonial government, colonial in quotes, because it was made up of black Africans, decided to do something else. They settled a lot of these locals in the vast Rift Valley. And this is definitely one of the reasons why founding father, President Jomo Kenyatta, opted to have Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi as his vice president. Because Moi ended up doing a lot to facilitate the settlement, comfortable settlement, of these Kenyans from Central Province in the Rift Valley. And for many decades, these Kenyans knew Rift Valley as their only home, their only Gishagi. And they even changed the names of some of those places where they settled into Kikuyu names. And in my view, quite rightly so, because it is the place they called home. And don't forget, this very enterprising community contributed greatly to the prosperity of the Rift Valley over the decades. Combining forces with the local Kalenjin community and working side by side, the Rift Valley became the bread basket of the country called Kenya. But everything came crashing down when multi-party politics arrived, or rather was forced on former President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. Faced with very well-financed and very serious opposition from most of the country, Moi was in serious political trouble. Now, I remember my late political lecturer rubbing his hands with glee and always emphasizing the point I'm about to share with you. He said, Moi has never, ever, in his entire political life, until he was president, ever faced a competitive election, even for MP. He was always unopposed, or where he was opposed, the opposition was nothing to write home about. By the way, it is so hard to believe that in January, it will be the 8th anniversary of the death of my political lecturer. How time flies, and how I miss this guy. Anyway, I guess his legacy lives on, because he's on this channel, via his son. And so Moi had to do something to the Kikuyu community living in the Rift Valley. More so because it is widely believed this man had a phobia for the House of Mumbi. Abana, mi sitaki kuwa president. Hao Kikuyu watamaliza mimi. Sitaki. That, my friends, is a quote from 1978, when somebody was trying to convince Moi to be president, and he didn't want the presidency. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, please make sure you catch my classic ebook, Dark Secrets of the Kenyan Presidency. And as my Christmas present to all you wonderful subscribers out there, look out before the end of this month for a link where you can download it for free, so that you can catch up and understand what I'm talking about. And of course, as my thank you, for all you great people who have made this channel great. And so my foot soldiers got to work, and on the ground, they told the Kikuyu community in the Rift Valley that it was very important how they voted in the presidential elections. They were asked to think very carefully before they voted for president. And to drive the point home, Kenya witnessed the first tribal clashes the country had seen in decades. Most Kenyans did not quite understand what these tribal clashes were all about. But actually what they were about was Kikuyus defending themselves in the Rift Valley and locals trying to remove them from their homes. Houses were burnt, people got killed, etc., etc. And so, although the House of Mumbi was very much against the Moi presidency, and in Central Province always voted against Moi, almost to a man, many members of the House of Mumbi living in the Rift Valley had to toe the line. Indeed, some of them got very actively involved in Moi campaigns. What do you do when you've got nowhere else to go? And somebody wants to uproot you from the place you call home? This Kikuyu voting pattern in the Rift Valley came out most clearly, in my opinion, in 1997. Mwai Kibaki pitched camp in the Rift Valley, and he got a very warm reception from the local Kalenjin community, who were fed up of their own man, President Moi. Or so it appeared, because they even jeered Moi, something which was shocking to many Kenyans, because nobody, until that time, nobody had ever dared to jeer the President of the Republic of Kenya in public. That was just suicide. But it happened in Rift Valley in 1997. However, when voting day came, the instructions to the Kikuyu community living in the Rift Valley were clear. And when Kibaki and his handlers saw the presidential election results trickling in from the Rift Valley, they couldn't believe. But of course, what they didn't realize is that the Kalenjin community just wanted to teach Moi a lesson, not to take them for granted. But as far as voting was concerned, that was a different matter altogether. And they all voted for Moi once again, almost to a man. But my point here is that this evil politics, birthed in 1991, 1992, when multi-party politics came in, simmered on. And by the time the 2007 presidential elections came along, there was open resentment against the Kikuyu community in the Rift Valley. And to make matters worse, Mwai Kibaki, a Kikuyu, had won the 2002 presidential elections. And this gave the Kikuyu living in the Rift Valley a new kind of boldness, which their Kalenjin brothers viewed as arrogance. And of course, all this set the stage for the terrible things that happened in 2007. So fast forward to the present. And I will sum it all up by asking you a very simple question. If you are a member of the House of Mumbi, and you have always called the Rift Valley home, and you're living in the Rift Valley, what would you do currently? Because presidential elections come and go, but your home remains. And so, now you know the Deputy President's strategy for locking in all Rift Valley votes, including those of the Kikuyu community. But the Deputy President has gone further than that. By sensitizing the Kikuyus living outside Rift Valley to the plight of their colleagues living in the Rift Valley. Now, very few communities keep track of their relatives like our Kikuyu brothers and sisters. And therefore, it is very difficult to find a Kikuyu anywhere who does not have relatives residing in the Rift Valley. And then to seal everything, we have all seen one of the foot soldiers of the Deputy President inciting the community that despite having a president who is one of their own, there's been virtually very little or no development in Central Province. Now, in my view, for those who are interested, if the president comes from a community, forget about development. Forget about him focusing on your community, because that's the price you have to pay, to produce a president, in my opinion. Because for his political survival, he must focus on other areas who are more needy than you are. He must. Anyway, bottom line, this strategy by the Deputy President is extremely difficult to counter. Many analysts believe that if elections were to be held today, the Deputy President would sweep the whole of the Rift Valley, the two communities, plus a sizable chunk of Central Province. Worst case scenario, 30%. Those are the kind of statistics that any serious challenger to the Deputy President in 2022 must face, and counter. That is, if they want to win the presidency. Now, according to impeccable sources who attended the private meeting in Sugoi, the instructions from the Deputy President were to tone down 2022 politics. Now, I find that super interesting because my immediate question is, what will be the new focus of Team Tangatanga and DP Ruto's 2022 bid? My wild guess is that it will be the BBI. The term of the BBI team, for those who have not heard, has been extended. They are going back to the people. And this time, they are going to have very public meetings with the people, to hear their views. Now, some people have been very confused, by what ODM said recently. They've come out and said they strongly support abolishing a powerful presidency and replacing it with a powerful prime minister. That means that even if there's a president, he'll be mainly ceremonial. All the power will be the prime minister. And we know for a fact that Team Tangatanga are strongly opposed to this, and for obvious reasons. Because Ruto wants to be president with all the powers. He's not interested in being a prime minister. Now, in my view, last time I checked, Raila Odinga is firmly in control of the ODM party. And therefore, it is impossible for party officials to hold a press conference and speak very loudly about the party position without consulting Raila Odinga. And therefore, we can safely assume that a powerful prime minister is the position of the handshake principles. And if you think about it, it makes complete sense. Because let me ask you a simple question. How do you get rid of tension during elections while still having a presidential election? Because the truth is, as things stand now, a presidential election in Kenya will always be rigged, interfered with by the deep state. So, simple solution, change to a parliamentary system with a powerful prime minister. And indeed, the record is very clear the world over. Countries that have parliamentary systems, in the third world and beyond, are much more stable and have always been much more stable than countries that have presidential systems. And that is a fact. Now, I believe most of you have already seen what I'm driving at. But let me spell it out. The new major threat to the Deputy President and his 2022 bid is the BBI initiative. Why? Because it will fight for a powerful Prime Minister, which Team Tangatanga does not want. And so it does not make any sense to focus all your efforts on campaigning for a seat in 2022 that may not be there in 2022. And so strategically, it is better to focus on ensuring that in 2022, a powerful presidency will still exist. That's really what it is. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha. Everything is gloomy in Kenya at the moment, especially the economy. And in many parts of the world, it is the same. So why should any sane person talk about making money in an economy where there's no money? Only a nutcase would do that, right? Actually, wrong. Because history has repeatedly shown us that the best time to make some serious money is when the economy is suffering. And the more the economy is suffering, the better your chances of making some serious money. To date, the American Great Depression of the 1930s still holds the record of producing the highest number of self-made millionaires ever in the history of the United States. People like this guy who produced the game of Monopoly, which somehow made people feel great, because it involved handling dollar bills, which in real life in those days, they were not able to handle much. Okay, I understand you. Facts are great. But what does one do faced with the harsh realities of no money? Glad you asked. Because I've just completed producing an amazing documentary, a 3-part documentary, titled How to Prosper in a Gloomy Economy. People on this channel are always talking about how my videos have changed their lives. But folks, this is the real deal. And what is more, there are no theories here, only very practical stuff. Let me just give you one example of what I mean. If you've ever lived in a foreign country, you know how difficult it is for a foreigner to start a business, even a small business. Well, I was once stuck in a foreign country with no money, and I successfully started a business. And what's more, and I believe very important, without breaking any of the laws of that country. It can be done. And people often make the big mistake of assuming that the most important component in a successful business is money. It isn't. It is simply a well thought out ideal idea coupled with a brilliant way of finding customers quickly and cheaply. That's it. My amazing documentary will hold your hand and help you find the ideal idea for where you are right now, even if it's your own country, going through perhaps the most difficult economic times in its history. I want you to change your mindset right now and decide that every time you see the word problem, every time you see a news item with a problem, a serious problem people are facing, replace that word problem with the word opportunity. In my documentary, I not only tell you precisely how to do this, I give you practical, real life examples of how it was done before, or how it has been done before by many, some of whom I helped and some of whom have never met me. So, take action right away. It is okay to celebrate Christmas, but just make sure that you hit the year 2020 running. Because I know, you know, and I don't need to tell you, that those who will reach 2020 still waiting for something to happen and not doing anything about it are going to have a very difficult 2020. The full documentary costs only $54 or 5,400 shillings. But if you want to order only one part of the documentary at a time, which you can, it will cost you only $19 per part. And I've already told you it's in 3 parts. And there's more. Yeah, if you order all 3 parts together, I will throw in the amazing ebooks, 101 brilliant business ideas that will thrive in Kenya or anywhere else in the world, and also how to get plenty of customers right away. I will send you those 2 ebooks completely for free. I highly recommend that you don't waste any time in making this investment in the year 2020 that will make all the difference.